let's talk about restaurants. Which of the big chains, let's say, are likely to be most affected, and for how long?
It's a really important question for sit-down dining, not so much for fast food. When you're traveling around because of a storm as severe as this, you're going to McDonald's, you're going to Burger King. You're not necessarily going to sit down and have a meal at a Chili's or Applebee's. The companies that we cover that are most exposed, it's definitely First Watch Restaurants. The headquarters of the company is about 10 miles from where the storm made impact on Florida. But the industry as a whole, it's 10% of chain casual dining restaurants are in Florida, despite it only being 7% of the population. It is a big eating and consumption state.
So what is the hit to revenues and potentially earnings per share from these twin storms, and how long lasting is it? How much damage do we know that they incurred? And it's obviously not just the damage in the restaurants; it's the damage for the people who would be the patrons of those restaurants and what they're having to deal with.
Absolutely, it's devastating to the coast what it does. We actually went back and looked at Hurricane Ian the last week of September of 2022, and we get pretty high frequency data where we can actually isolate a few days and look at the impact on some of these chains. Some of the most exposed that have 20, 30, 40% of their restaurants in Florida generally saw 15 to 35% sales hits for a few days. Now, when I look back at that period of time, First Watch had 85 restaurants out of their 500 that were closed for a few days and 10 that were closed for more than a week. When I've gone back and looked at Google and some of the data on the ground, it looks like you still have 7 to 10 restaurants, primarily in the Tampa area, that remain temporarily closed for the brand. So we expect it to kind of continue here to be a sales impact. But as you look at the full quarter and you think about this from a full 3-month perspective and a year perspective, it generally proves to be transitory, even if it's heavily pressured in the near term.
That's very interesting. You would think that maybe it would be a longer lasting effect. But what I'm hearing you say is that really it's probably a matter of a few days of lost revenue and disruption, not weeks or months, and that very few, if any, of these locations of these chains, whether it's First Watch or Chili's or whatever, have been destroyed so that they're not going to be usable for months.
Yeah, the one that the First Watch location that's in Asheville, North Carolina, is still temporarily closed. So there's going to be some rebuilding that happens of a handful of restaurants, but generally the American worker has a incredible ability, and the American consumer, to bounce back from tragedies and situations like this quickly, and we expect that to largely be the case here too. Severe impact, but quite a resurgence relatively soon after.
Very interesting. Greg, thank you very much for your perspective. We appreciate it. Greg Francfort.